Average private investor in France amounts to around 3.5 million people, and they are mostly retired people. They start to invest at the age of 40, but they are mostly active when they get into retirement. The average portfolio is at around 65 or 70,000 euros, and they invest mostly, on average, in between 6 to 10 companies. So they are mostly male. There are few women who are individual investors, unfortunately. It's 75% male and 25% female. And they are mostly invested on French companies. Not only large, a good quarter of French individual investors invest in small and medium-sized companies. The profile of the French individual investor in France changed dramatically for the past 10 to 15 years. They used to be much younger. To give you an example, the average age of a French individual investor in the 1990s was around 44, 45 years, whereas today it's above 55. So less young people come to the stock market, and so the average age tend to go up every year by not 1 year, but by half a year or 3/4 of a year. So now we are going slowly to an average age of 60. It's very important for companies to have a large number of individual shareholders, because there is a very strong relationship between the product they sell and satisfied individual shareholders. And you see that for companies who sell commercial products, very spread out consumer products, they see a strong relationship between satisfied shareholders and satisfied customers. Private individual shareholders, what they expect from French companies is a good stock performance. That's the first thing. They expect also a good dividend, but dividend always comes second. First is a good stock price, because some companies pay a good dividend but don't have a good stock price. So the first thing is the stock exchange performance. Second thing is good communication. The French individual investor is very sensitive to the tools and the communication tools the companies provide. Dedicated section on the internet site, letter to the shareholder, and all sorts of services that many large companies, but sometimes small companies, provide to the individual shareholder. The French individual shareholders expect several types of forms of communication. Obviously today the internet site has become very important, but also a lot of individual shareholders, even if they are not so young anymore, use modern tools of communication, such as smartphones, tablets. So a lot of companies now have adapted their communication means to these types of terminals. And also the individual shareholders expect to receive regular information on the company, just to be aware of any new important news that can affect the stock price. The most effective form of communication among the French private investors are really very, very diverse. I mean, the internet site is obviously one of the main form of communication, but also financial press is very important. It's the first source of information for an individual investor before the communication provided by the company. So it's very important that the companies talk to journalists and financial press to make sure that there is a regular flow of articles concerning the company. So, well, that's, and also what is important also is information that the individual investor can get from his banker or brokerage house. So there is a very large panel of effective information they can get, but mostly the financial press is very important.